Thank you for joining us on This Is Exclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, the only question being asked across the world, who next after Nicolás Maduro? Over the weekend, we saw some dramatic pictures of the attack on Venezuela and the capture of Maduro. But what many don't know across the world, even tonight as we broadcast, is why Donald Trump decided to capture Maduro. If you think it's about drugs, it's not. It's about oil. And we'll tell you all about it. Here are the headlines. Major European countries push back against Donald Trump. NATO leaders jointly issue a statement defending Greenland and Denmark. Fresh round of protests reported in Iran. Unrest in at least 27 locations. Supreme leader absent from public view, but he puts out a statement on Twitter asking America why they called for a ceasefire and why they're provoking again. Controversial slogans raised once again on the JNU campus 10 years after the Tukade gang first did it. Open support for Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid on JNU campus in the heart of Delhi. A big win for the Hindu side in Madurai, Tamil Nadu. The Madurai bench of the Madras High Court has asked the Tiruparankundram temple to light the lamp. The lamp will be lit, upholding the Justice Swaminathan order. It's a win for all devotees in Madurai. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, on the show this evening, I wanted to take you through details of why it's all about oil. But before I do that, across the world, there is speculation about what Donald Trump will do next. Now, he's threatening Greenland, he's threatening Colombia, he's threatening Iran, and the whole world is on edge. Most countries are wondering what he's up to. With Donald Trump doubling down on hardline decisions, the question echoing across global power centers is stuck. Who is next on Trump's hit list? From Latin America to the Middle East and Europe, nations are lining up, choosing sides, bracing for impact, and allies are extremely uneasy. Adversaries are issuing open warnings. Regional powers preparing for escalation, and Republic gets you reactions from multiple nations first up. Before we take you into why it's all about oil, let's look at what each country is saying. Trump's next move won't just shift diplomacy. It could redraw global power equations. Let me first get you a ground report from Venezuela. From across 8 countries, we are reporting live. I'm getting you the first report from Venezuela. Let's play that out first.
Greetings. So many things happen here in Venezuela in this day. The first one of them, the president and the Nicolás Maduro and Celia Flores declares from the judge not guilty. Second, the vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, was sworn in the presidency of Venezuela in this midday, more or less. But the journalists, to make coverage of that activity, 7 of that journalists was arrested. That situation generates so many comments in Caracas because the syndicate of the press workers, the College of Journalists here in Venezuela, make a pronunciation about that thing that they consider it an abuse of for part of the police and the military of the regime. Meanwhile, in U.S., Donald Trump says and repeat that words about who is in charge in Venezuela. He repeat the government of the his presidency was in charge just right now in Venezuela. Delcy Rodriguez changed changed the to his words a few days ago. She was more frontal, más front, more radical, even make some threats. But most recently, Delcy Rodriguez slowed down as his comments. She shows more friendly or more more friendly with the government of the Donald Trump. Meanwhile, so many people in our country in the claim the environment in our country still uncertain because so many things can happen. It's the first time in Venezuelan history that the things that happens at the past 3 of January occurs here in Venezuela. Never has happened something just like that. Of course, we still alert. We still alert about that the things that can happen here in Venezuela, and we show you in his in we show you. We know we make a know to you all that can happen here in Venezuela.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what is it all about? Why is Donald Trump doing this? Why did he decide to, over the weekend, pick up Maduro and bring him to New York? Is it about drugs or is it something else? We have a few numbers. We've done some number crunching of the oil, the urgent need for oil in America. And let's try and tell you the story through numbers. Let's go one by one. And we'll tell you why it's all about oil. You look at the numbers. The largest crude oil producers in the world, and America is right up there. Right up there. This is how many barrels they produce per day. Followed by, that's the United States, right up there. Followed by, can we go to the next plate? Followed by Saudi Arabia. Second, that's how many barrels they produce per day. Followed by Russia. That's how many barrels Putin's Russia produces per day. Now, why is this critical? America continues to produce most amount of oil single day, every single day. They are the global oil production giants. And when you look at why oil is critical to America, and what kind of oil America produces. Now, there are 3 kinds of oil, ladies and gentlemen. Let me try and simplify it for you. There are 3 kinds of oil. There is light oil, medium oil, heavy oil. And heavy oil is produced in, this is where most of the heavy oil is refined in America. It's the Texas, Louisiana belt. This is where most of the heavy oil is produced. Most of your large refiners in America are in this belt, very close to Venezuela. So the connectivity is right up there. The US refineries, the large US refineries, the Shell, the Chevron, the Exxon, they're all built for heavy crude, and most of them have their heavy refineries in this southern belt in America. Now, Venezuela becomes very, very critical for them when you look at how geographically they are placed. Very close to the entire belt, the oil from Venezuela can be moved straight to these refineries, the heavy refineries. Now, let's show you why US needs heavy oil. If you look at this data that we've picked up from the statistics available online, and this is statistics shared by the US Energy Information Administration, or the EIA. This tells you, this graph shows you how the dependence on heavy oil, what is called heavy oil, is increasing every single year. So in this graph from 1978 all the way to 2024, the heavy oil imports of America is increasing. America produces oil, but to produce oil, you need heavy crude oil that the refineries can then process further and sell. And that is why heavy oil becomes critical. And where is the heavy oil coming from? If that is the question, there are only 3 countries that matter when it comes to heavy oil. The largest producer is Venezuela, now being taken over almost by the US refineries. They're getting ready to go inside Venezuela. And then you have Canada, which Trump is already targeting. He's threatening Canada. And then you have Russia, with whom America is already engaged with. And let me show you that graphic on why it's critical. Why these countries are extremely critical. The largest producers of heavy oil or the large oil, if I can play that for our viewers, and that is why you look at these countries, the largest producers of large oil, Venezuela tops that list. A small country, but Venezuela tops that list. It's strategically close to the refineries in the US. All the heavy oil refineries are placed here. All the heavy oil refineries are placed here, and this is how close Venezuela is to the heavy oil refineries in America. And that is why it's extremely critical to understand why Trump had his eyes on Venezuela even before the capture of Maduro. And the reserves, and so for such a small country, the reserves, and that is why it's even more critical. Who has the most amount of oil in the world? Let's go to the next infographic. These are the countries that have the most amount of oil in the world. Right up there is Venezuela with almost 302 billion barrels of oil. They have that much of oil in their reserve, oil that can still be drilled. That is the amount of oil that is left in Venezuela waiting to be drilled. Saudi Arabia still has reserves of about 267 billion barrels. Canada still has reserves of 167 billion barrels. Iran, 155 billion barrels. Iraq, 145 billion barrels. Does it ring a bell on why America has problems with Venezuela, had problems with Saudi Arabia, has problems with Canada, has problems with Iran, has problems with Iraq? And it all boils down to this. What has happened in the last couple of days? Something has changed in America. It's fantastic how it's all falling apart when you look at the numbers. This is a line that Donald Trump likes to repeat again and again. He says, drill, baby, drill. What is drill, baby, drill? Ever since he's picked up Nicolás Maduro, since Maduro's capture, the ones that are laughing all the way to the bank are the oil companies. Exxon and Chevron stocks have jumped post the capture of Maduro. Can you believe it? They have become richer by $100 billion. Let's just keep moving that. $100 billion increase in the combined value pre-market opening. The capture of Maduro happens Friday late night in America, Saturday afternoon here in India. The markets are closed. The markets haven't really reacted yet. But the US stocks have gained over the expected landfall that they are already seeing after the capture of Maduro, after the possible impact of Venezuelan oil and the heavy oil access that they will now start getting all of a sudden. And that is the real story of why Donald Trump went after Maduro. It's not about drugs. Drugs is a problem that America will continue to grapple with. But the real truth is in the oil story. Now, let's get you some more reports. And that is why countries across the world are unhappy. Russia, for example, unhappy with the turn of events. Nikita Menkovich, the director of the Eurasian Analytical Club, tells us why he feels the American attack against Venezuela is a classical gangster operation. He sent us this report.
American attack against Venezuela is a classical gangster operation. They are taken hostage to capture money and assets of an attacked family or a company. We deal with a classical gang attack against an independent country to take control on oil and the other assets of the Venezuelan nation. In this situation, I think the only reaction of the international community is to understand there is no real law and order in the international space. Our only chance to defend from Western gang attacks, to build a new security and defense system based on the principles of the equality and independence of the countries, and avoiding all type of controls of NATO, United States, or other aggressive countries. Every country and every politician in the world can be new target of the American attack. Maybe an India Prime Minister or a Mexico President. Everyone can be attacked and taken as a hostage, as it was now. I think that's the only thing we should understand. United States are aggressive and dangerous country. No partnership is possible in this situation. We should defend ourselves. We should not negotiate with a criminal. We should do our best to save our future and our countries.
We now have an exclusive report from Iran. Senior journalist Masaki sent us this report on the protests that we are seeing across Iran, which first started in a famous marketplace in downtown Tehran, then spread across the country. Nobody knows who's behind it, but the world is watching it unfold. Iran says there is a foreign hand behind it. Here's the report.
Protests first started in a famous marketplace in downtown Tehran. Gradually, it spread to some other few places in the market, the greater markets. Then it spread to cities mostly in western Iran, small cities, mostly the small cities. The bazaars are, in terms of economy, income, are in a better situation. But people in cities, in small cities especially, have low income. They are protesting price rises, especially food prices. But amid these protests, some people, unfortunately, resort to violent acts. And this is detrimental to the demands of the people who are seeking justice, who are seeking economic stability. As a matter of fact, high-ranking officials have said the grievances of the people, both bazaris and people with low income, should be addressed. And that's why the government has officially announced that it is increasing cash subsidies by more than 3 times for these price increases. However, this is not the whole story. Energy prices in Iran are heavily subsidized. And these protests, which have started, are the results of sanctions which have been correctly described as economic terrorism. And the main victims are those with low income. Considering these realities on the ground, the government is seeking the views of experts to find a remedy for them.
Senzi Yuan, a reporter from China, tells us how Beijing is viewing the developments of Maduro's capture. And China already has expressed grave concern over American action, saying forcibly capturing Maduro and his wife and taking them out of the country on Sunday afternoon was nothing short of a kidnap.
China has expressed grave concern on Sunday afternoon over the U.S. forcibly seizing President Maduro and his wife and taking them out of the country. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson released a statement saying that the U.S. action is a violation of international law, the basic norm of international relations, and the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. The statement calls on the U.S. to ensure the personal safety of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, release them at once, stop toppling the government of Venezuela, and resolve issues through dialogue and negotiation. China's remarks come against the backdrop of long-standing tensions between Washington and Caracas, including unilateral sanctions, political pressure, and repeated U.S. involvement in Venezuela-related affairs. Beijing has consistently maintained that disputes should be resolved through dialogue, and the international community should support the sovereign choice of Venezuelan people.
From Israel, Terry Newman, an Israeli entrepreneur and chairman of the public board of directors of Bina, talks about how U.S. President Trump's decision to intercept and then arrest Maduro in his night clothes in the middle of the night sent shockwaves through the world.
President Trump's bold decision to intercept and arrest Venezuelan President Maduro in his pajamas in the middle of the night has sent shockwaves through the world, affecting both friend and foe alike. Obviously, the Venezuelans have been affected, all of those in Latin America, but this has been really felt throughout the world. The Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians who've been propping up the Venezuelan regime, both under Maduro and Chavez before him, have lost a major ally that was supplying them with oil, that was supplying them with gold, and that was really a front for potential future attacks on the United States. That's a major loss for them. But also this is affecting friends as well, who are trying to understand what was the legal narco-terrorism basis for this attack. And we'll have to see how the American administration presents that, both domestically to Congress and also internationally. But let's just focus in on a country in the Middle East, on Iran, who is watching this very closely. The Iranian people have been uprising again after the horrendous inflation there and the severe drop in the value of the local currency against the dollar. They're now being joined by other protesters who are showing disgust at the way that the Islamist regime there that has ruled the Iranian people so brutally since 1979 is suppressing and holding down that people. We will have to see how this plays out, whether this will be another mass protest which in the end will be put down, or perhaps after the 12-day war of last summer and President Trump's bold decision now, this may be the start of something new for the people of Iran and for the region itself. Stay focused and let's see what happens.
That's it on this edition of This Is Exclusive. That's how the world is reacting to the Maduro capture by Donald Trump. We'll take a break. Trending with Rakshita is coming up next. Thanks for watching.
The Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Machado has vowed to return to Venezuela amid the unfolding crisis. She rejects the rule of interim President Rodriguez and also says that she is willing to offer her Peace Prize to Donald Trump. Well, Trump must be very, very happy about it. We'll get you all the details and much more on Trending Tonight with me, Rakshita, at 7:30 p.m.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.